Hello students, welcome to the Learning Management System organized by Department of College and Technical Education. This is the session number 10 of the subject Introduction to Project Management, and the subject is Project Management and Valuation. So in this session I am going to cover the following contents: public-private partnership models, followed by a MCQ test, that is multiple choice question test. So what is public-private partnership? A public-private partnership, we had discussion in the last class. It is nothing but there will be a collaboration between a public agency and the private owner or the private concessionaire for developing some projects such as runway of an airport or some institutional building in an education sector or energy sector, power plants, hospital construction for healthcare, construction of berths for shifting of cargo such as ports, for berthing of ships, for railway lines, for villages, and for commercial purposes, that is railways, and ultimately the roads. So these are the different areas where the public agency will be collaborating with the private agency, because India is a country where there is a shortage of funds, because there is a lot of draft that is happening continuously in the year, and also a lot of subsidized systems has to be given to the different occupation in our country. So we are having a very limited funding in the developmental projects. So we are asking, so we are encouraging the private agencies to come up and to develop and operate it before being handed over, so that they are going to collect their revenue before being given to us. So you can see the percentage of share that is being taken by the different type of projects. The road, it is 53.4%. Majority of the PPPs will be bridges and roads. You can see around 86 public-private PPP projects were awarded till 2004 for an amount of 340 billion. Okay, that were invested in these roads, healthcare 1%, energy 20%, and airports 0.1%, education 2%. And now you can see at the end of 2009, we have seen around 450 projects, which has been increased drastically because of the initiation by the state governments about the advantages. Because most of the projects which are happening in metro cities, in Bangalore also, there was a flyover project being awarded in PPP, a longest flyover in India in Electronic City connecting Hosur. So, and also in 2009 to 758 PPP projects costing Indian rupees 3,833 billion in 2011. So this is the impact that the public-private partnership is making in the nation. Okay, we will just check whether it is being recording. Yeah. So these PPPs are being incorporated by the state governments like Karnataka. In Maharashtra, around 50% of projects being developed is PPPs. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu is the three states which are actively using these PPP models. So there are different PPP models in India, around 10. It starts with BuildOperate-Transfer. Toll means we are going to collect the toll in the roads. That if that type of system is being used, then it is called as BOT toll. Build, operate, own, transfer. That is your owning before transferring it. JV, joint venture. The fourth one is management contract. Fifth one, build, own, transfer. So here there is no operating it, you're owning it. And here BOT annuity means if you're going to collect the revenue annually, then it's called as build, operate, transfer annuity. BOO, build, own, operate. There is no transfer to the public agency. DBA40, design, build, finance, operate, transfer. PPP, public private partnership. And boost, that is build, operate, own, share, and transfer. So these are the different type of PPP models that is existing in India. Let us discuss it in detail. ಮೊದಲನೇದು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಆಪರೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, It is essentially a form of leasing where the government allows a private entrepreneur to design, finance, and build an infrastructure facility. Say, for example, here you are going to give the land to the concessionaire agencies, land or any constructed buildings for them to construct it or renovate it, depends upon the type of the project. They are going to make a survey, they are going to design it, they are going to construct it, they are only financing it, and they are going to build it. Okay, so after building they are going to collect the revenue from the users to some certain years, then they are going to transfer it. The project promoter is permitted to collect tolls and operate the facility for a specified period, during which he is expected to recover all of his costs and earn a reasonable profit. In the initiation of a talking or agreement between the public agency and the private agency, there will be an agreement. There will be a number of years that will be fixed, that this much amount of years the concessionaire agency will be operating the finished project. Where they are going to collect the toll. If it is a road, they are going to collect the toll from the cars or bikes or lorries or vehicles, all vehicles, and to certain number of years till they have availed the profit, and then they will be handing over back to the public agency. At the end of the concession period, the ownership of the facility is transferred to the government. So the agreement will be in such a way that during the concession period, the government will be not having any kind of right to involve into it and to take the ownership, because this agreement will be under the law, and if uh, if the government demands to own it, then they have to pay the amount that the concessionary agency is going to demand, because since the project will be of a very huge amount, it is very impossible for the government to own it. So they are going to allow it to recover their funds from the toll, then they are going to hand over after completion of the concession period. The concession period is determined primarily by the length of time needed to the facility's revenue stream to pay off the company's debt and provide a reasonable rate of return for its effort and risk. If they are going to invest around 1,000 crores of project for a development of road, then they are going to set up tolls. So for recovering that 1,000 crore, and also in addition to it, the rate of interest that is paid by the company and banks, and also the profit for them, inclusive of all that, they have to recover the amount. And also there will be a check from the government about the transactions that are going to occur. Say for example, on average, if 500 vehicles are crossing the toll, if 100 rupees is fixed, so every day there will be 50,000 rupees collection for them. Per month it will be 15 lakh. So annually it will be around 1 crore or 2 crores, like that. So it depends. So they are going to fix the tolls in number of junctions, so that they have to recover the amount by around 5 to 10 years or 15 years of time. And also during that period they have to maintain the road also. So here the revenue will be in the form of toll, and after all the collection of the toll, they are going to give it back to the public agency. Since they are going to put their effort, their manpower, their machinery, their energy, their finance into it, they have to avail a certain bit of profit for their effort and risk. So this is the typical structure of build, own, operate, or build BOT type of a project, where the topmost control of the total project will be under the public agency government. So this is a concession company. There may be 2 to 3 companies, or it will be maybe a single company which will be united, and they are going to form a company that is called as concession company. Between government to concession company, there will be a concession agreement. Concession agreement is nothing but an agreement between these two agencies regarding the concession period, that is how many number of years I am going to take the revenue, what is the amount of time, what is the total stretch of land that is required, all these things will be borne, and this agreement will be under law. And once the land is handed over to concession company, in order to finance it, they are going to approach the lenders such as banks, State Bank of India or ICICI Bank, for financing into it. So they are going to make a loan agreement between the banks, and also if there is shortage of funds, then they are going for the stock exchange, that is for investing amount from the shareholders. So they are going to have a shareholder agreement if there is investment. And if the projects like thermal power plant and all, where there is a huge requirement of coal, so the coal is under the hands of government, which is a natural resources. So during the concession agreement, parallelly a agreement will be done between the suppliers for supply of coal, that is supply contract. So after arranging these finances, then they are going for design and construction team for constructing the project. Then after construction, they are going to hand over to operation team for revenue generation. And the ultimately the infrastructure or the project will be used by the users. So there will be an offtake contract between the users about the usage. So this is the typical structure of this build, own, operate, transfer, where the concession company will be having the highest risk and they have to put more efforts in managing all these stakeholders. So their public agency will be having a risk-free kind of a thing in this PPP BOT projects. So there are two roles. The government will be having to play certain roles and a private company has to play certain roles in this type of project. The first and foremost thing, the private company has to arrange the financing. Not even a single rupee will be arranged by the public agency for the construction. They have to approach the different type of banks and they have to present their project, and the bankers should be appreciated or impressed with their project based on their revenue schedules, based on their profit and based on investment. And thereafter the planning and designing and constructing also is under the private company itself. That's why these PPP projects are going to be finished in faster manner, as the public agency is not involved in any of this stage. The planning, that is the preparation of plans, making surveys, and the design, if it is a building, design of structural elements like columns, beams and footings. If it is a road, then design of curves, design of thickness of pavement, and bridge construction of bridges and flyovers. Everything will be done by the private company. After that, they have to install the tolls if it is a road. If it is a power generation, then they have to have an agreement with the purchaser regarding the collecting of revenue for per unit. Then they have to going to keep an operation team for maintaining the facility and also generating collection of the revenue. Then they manage the infrastructure throughout the concession period. And also, since they are the one who are going to collect the revenue, and also the maintenance part of that infrastructure will be also under them responsibility throughout the concession period, where after that will be public agency's property. So ensure service to people. See, one disadvantage of this PPP is that the private companies are usually constructing it and also operating it. They are more towards the making profit. Okay, then they are less concentrated towards the ensure service oriented. So then in the concession agreement itself, it will be noted that the service to the people will be under the private company itself. So these are the different roles of private, and let us see what is the government's responsibility to provide guarantee and commitment to encourage the private sector to execute infrastructure projects. Because Even today, the network of roads what India is having is not the highest compared to the China and all. Okay, so still there are no more number of areas where good connected roads are required. More expressways are required for a hassle-free drive. Okay, between connecting between the states, more number of national highways has to be constructed. The existing national highways has to be upgraded to expressways. So, in order to promote that, the government will be we should have these kind of promote the PPP projects to execute infrastructure projects. They have to create and monitor a master plan. In most of the cases, the government will be having a team who are going to make a general reconnaissance survey about the requirement of the project. They are going to identify it, and they are going to prepare a master plan about how to go execute the project. Because even if the private construction firm is building it and is planning and designing it, they have to approve the plan what they are going to construct from the government. Okay, so the government will be with their team, they are going to create and monitor the master plan, introduce competition so that tariffs are low and private monopolies do not come into existence. So there are more chances that if the project has been proposed for only one contractor, whatever the rates or whatever the concession period is going to ask, that has to be given. So in order to improve the competitiveness and also transparency to and an equal chance to all the private agencies, so the tariffs should be one who is coming with a lesser concession period or lesser amount of time could be given the hand over the project, and also the quality of the project has to also should be mentioned, and also the stability of the person has to should be judged before giving it to them. The monitor tariff levels in the interest of the public. So usually what happens is in the initial days, even if a higher project, the toll for giving toll initial days, it will be smoother. But as and when the progress of years goes, the people start to complain that we are going to pay the toll from so many years. Now we are not going to pay. So we have to keep that in terms of public also, the tariff levels. Prepare clear terms and specifications regarding to concessions and assets. So since the public agency will be the ultimate owner of the land, then in the agreement he has to clearly mention about the concession period, and even if it is in a not profitable manner, what are the clear terms and conditions, and what are the specifications, and how to use the assets, if it, what condition the asset should be when they are going to give back to us. So all these terms has to be clearly identified, prepared by the government. So these are the two responsibilities of two agencies. Now there is a lot of demand for these projects, because the one thing is they are going to decrease the financial burden on the public infrastructure project and just to increase the public productivity. Because in every annual budget of the central government or state governments, they are going to fix some amount in public works department. They have to allocate the funds for health department, revenue department, food and food supplies department, and public works department. Because there are recently the developmental activities, if we seeing in the country, a lot of amount has been reserved to food and supplies and for draft itself, because of the climatic change. So the investment to the infrastructure areas are getting lower because of the thirst in the other areas. So in this type of scenarios, there will be a lot of financial burden to the governments in developing it. So this build operate transfer model will create a opportunity for the government to decrease its burden, to make the country gain foreign financial resources, advanced technology, and experience accumulation in terms of project. So there are a lot of even today we can see the other countries are being technologically till forward in terms of construction and all. So when we are going to come up with this project, usually the financial aid will be given by the other countries also, by World Bank also may fund. because there is a lot of sewerage supplies. Sewer lines we can see will be funded by the Asian Development Boards, and very important big road projects or water supply projects will be funded by World Bank. So this, by initiating the projects, we can gain the foreign financial resources, and also by having a collaboration between the other contracting firms abroad, we can come up with a construction with the newer technologies, and our people give they have the opportunity to experience a different type of skill set under their guidance, I can say, because after foreign direct investment that has been made in India, a lot of construction companies in abroad came to India. Their technologies were completely highly forward compared to our country. The usage of tower crane for in high-rise structures. So this is for an example. To provide new enterprise and profit areas and to make contributions to the public finances by forming tax assessments. So and also when we are going to come up with a project, so there will be involvement of lot of people. There will be works to the lot of people, and also the revenue that will be collected from the public, some percentage of tax also could be levied on them, so that there will be income generation parallelly to the government also. So to remove any probable need for foreign borrowings, investment areas, and just to not to increase the foreign investment. So a BOT project is going to have the following agreements between the concessionaire and also the government. The concessionaire agreement is between the government and concessionaire. The concession agreement is regarded as the heart of a BOT project as it determines the commercial viability and profitability. So in the previous structure, I had shown you that the government agency and a concession agency are the two important firms in this total structure, because all the other stakeholders comes under the concession. Single point of contact to the government is concession agency, where concession agency is nothing but a project company, involvement of two or three companies, or it may be a single company, big company. So this usually this agreement is called as the heart of the BOT project, because the commercial terms and conditions will be written in this agreement. So the first and foremost thing that will be addressed in this agreement is the concession period. So concession period is nothing but there will be planning and designing and execution of the project. After completion of project, how many years the concessionaire agency is going to use this project for collection of revenue either annually or on a toll. This is the concession period. The construction duration. So the for how many years the construction has to be completed, because if we are not going to fix it, then the contractor will there will be not pressure will be creating on the concessionaire company, because the project has to be quickly handed over to the users, and also the concession period also immediately start. There has to be faster progress toll or tariff structure. It should be in such a way that the users that are using should not feel that they are going to pay more for this type of service. That's why the Tala tariff structure will also be discussed in the agreement. Rights and obligations of both the parties. Rights and obligation means, so what are the rights that are that will be practiced by the government agency, and what are the obligations when if the contractor half develops and if we are going to quit, then the whole thing will be failed, whole project will be failed. So the what are the legal actions that the government can could take on him, and also if he is going to construct half, he can't claim the amount from the government. And also since the land will be a green field that could be given to him, he's going to put concrete in it, after that it could be of no use. So there are a lot of rights and obligations which has to be discussed. So these are the four important parameters that will be there in the concession agreement. Next comes to the loan agreement. The loan actually is between the lenders. and the concessionaire. So now the government will be isolated here. The public agency will not be interfering here. Here only the financing agency and the concessionaire will be having an agreement about what is the total principal amount that you could give to me, and also what is the rate of interest. Next is shareholder agreement. Shareholder agreement means if I am going to call for the shares to the public, I am going to provide them the agreement bond that if he is going to purchase 100 share or 50 shares for this much amount, this much an agreement will be done, that is called a shareholder agreement. Construction contract. So after that, even if the concessionaire company itself is a construction company, then there is no need of agreement. If the company is calling for any tenders and they are going to give the construction to some specific person, agency, or the organization, then they are going to have a contract regarding the completion time, regarding safety, regarding quality standards, regarding design standards. The concession contract, actually it will be between the contractor and the concessionaire, and it could be turnkey contract, the design plan, everything it will be under contractor. Supply contract, an agreement between supplier and concessionaire. The supplier in a supply contract is often government agency that supplies raw materials such as coal to power plants and oil. Offtake agreement, this is a very important agreement between the government and the concessionaire to purchase minimum quantity of services such as electricity, water at fixed price for fixed item. So whenever there is some power plant project or water project, since the private is having a risk of whether the produced goods could be purchased or not, so that they are going to have an agreement with the government itself to buy back what they have produced, such as electricity or water. Operation and maintenance contract. This is an agreement between the concession company and the operation phase. It plays a very important role in the success. Its success is tied to its revenue generating ability. The operation team will be a complete set of team that will be operating by a network of computers, by manpowers for generating the revenue. So these are the different agreements that will be there in between the concessionaire and government, and concessionaire and lenders, and concessionaires and suppliers. So the advantages of BOT project are the use of private sector financing to provide new source of capital which reduces public borrowing and direct spending, and which may improve the host government's credit rating. So here, even if the government is not spending a rupee, they can fill in their achievements that this important projects have been completed in their turn. Ability to accelerate the development of projects that would otherwise have to wait for and compete for resources. The major amount of employability giving other than agriculture in India is construction. So the development of any nation, if you could be seen by the type of roads the government is India country is having, the type of structures it is going to have, so that will be in a very faster rate. Use of private sector capital initiative and know how to reduce the project construction costs, shorter schedules, and improve operating procedures. So the project management skills in private companies will be good compared to the government public agencies. So the project could be completed in a faster rate in lesser cost when it is be handled by the public agency. Allocation to the private sector of project risk and burden that would otherwise have to be borne by the public sector. Whenever a government comes up with some project, after its construction it may be successful or failure, then the risk will be under public agency. Then what happens is here the complete risk is being transferred to the private agency. So the involvement of private sponsors and experienced commercial lenders, which ensures an in-depth review and is an addition sign of project feasibility. Since here a lot of banks are also involving here for financing, it will be in the order of 1000 crores or 2000 crores. The bank will be having a separate team to review the proposal about the real-time imagination about the project, about the execution of the project, feasibility of the project. So since so many people, agencies will be involved, the success rate of the project will be more. Technology transfer, the training of local personnel and the development of national capital market. So because of the innovative methodologies involved in private companies today for completing it in faster rate, the local people will be having exposing themselves towards the new machineries and new technologies and new methodologies which can build their career aspects. Opportunity to establish a private benchmark against which the efficiency of similar public sector projects can be measured. So compared to the advantages, there are some disadvantages of BOT. The transaction costs are high, they amount 5 to 10% of total project cost, not suitable for smaller projects. BOT projects are successful only when substantial revenues are generated during the operation phase. Is when the project has been completed, the user has to take the complete advantage of it so that the revenue will be attained in a very lesser concession period, then both the public agency and private agency would be in a positive note. Otherwise, there will be a lot of conflicts between the government agency and the private agency. Sometimes the private agency may feel substantial amount of loss also. So this is the BOT type of PPP project. Next, build, operate, own, transfer. So here you are building it and operating it, transferring it, and before it you are going to own it. That is the difference. That is your the agency is going to transfer back the ability back to the general public sector. So joint venture means a private body is having a collaboration with the government or public agency so that the minority of the shares will be given to the developer. Say for example, layout construction. Layout means site construction. Government will be having a land and a private consultant will come for development. Then there may be an agreement that around 40% of sites for the private agency, 60% of sites could be of public agency. So this is called as joint venture. There will be no revenue kind of a thing or toll kind of a thing here, but the shares of minority will be given to the private agency. Management contract. A management contract could be a written agreed arrangement for the management of a region or whole of a public enterprise by the non-public sector. So there are certain projects such as steel production companies, or it may be power production companies, or it may be some airports, it may be ports or railways between some stations. So they are going to call for the private agency to manage it for certain number of years. That is called as management contract. BOT annuity. Actually, we have discussed the BOT toll in detail. If the revenue is collected annually from by the concessioneering agency, then the type of project is called as annuity. Say for example, if he has built a township, or if there is a collection of taxes that could be made only annually, or in case of any industry that is being constructed, only he can assess the total revenue generated annually. DBFOT, that is design, build, finance, operate and transfer. Here the non-public party assumes the whole responsibility for the look, construct, finance and operate and maintain the project for the amount of concession. These also are remarked as concessions. The project can recover its investments through concessions granted or through regular payment. Build, own, operate. Here there is no option of giving the back the land to the government agency. The entity will be belonging to the public agent, private agency. The government grants the rights to style, finance, build, operate, and maintain the project that retains possession of the project. There are a lot of industrial land in the during the industrialization. Actually, government asked that are going to give free land. You can come and work it. Or in the education revolution, the earlier independence stage, where government were giving land freely, and private agencies could come up, construct the institutions, and also waste management. They will be giving the land. They can manage the waste. So like that. So these type of projects where the entity will not be given back to the government or public agency. This type of project is called as build, own, and operate. In BOO, the personal entity is sometimes not needed to transfer the power back to the government. Build, operate, own, share, and transfer. Here, the construction entity will be done, but here, in spite of revenue, there will be shares will be given to the. That is, there exists a sharing the revenue to the non-public entity for extended time, even once the rights of the non-public entity is transferred to the general public entity. Sometimes what happens is there may be chances of not collecting any revenue from the user. Then at that time, the public entity has to share the revenue with the non-public entity. So these are the different types of PPP models. Now let us answer some multiple choice questions. India has excessively relied on toll collection for the construction of highways. The toll collection model is similar to which of the following models of private-public partnership? Option A, design, build, finance and operate. Option B, build, own and operate. Option C, build, lease and transfer. Option D, build, operate and transfer. Right answer is option D, build, operate and transfer. A written agreement arrangement for the management of a region or a whole of a public enterprise by the non-public sector is called option A, management contract. Option B, build, own, operate. Option C, build, lease, transfer, and option D, build, operate, transfer. The right answer is option A, management contract. It is almost like the build, operate, transfer model, except that the personal entity needs to transfer the ability back to the general public sector. Here, the whatever the land that will be owning by the public agency has to be given back to the public entity. Option A, build, operate, own and transfer. Option B, build, own, share and operate. Option C, build, lease, transfer, and option D, build, operate and transfer. The right answer is option A, build, operate, own and transfer. The government grants the rights to style, finance, build, operate and maintain the project. Your personal entity retains possession of the project is called management contract. Option B, build, own, operate. Option C, build, lease, transfer, and option D, build, operate, transfer. So here, the whatever the project that will be constructed will not be given back to the public agency. So the right answer is option B, build, own, and operate. There exists a sharing the revenue to the non-public entity for extended time, even once the rights of the non-public entity is transferred to the general public entity is called option A, build, own, operate. Option B, management contract. Option C, build, operate, own, share and transfer. Option D, build, lease, transfer. The right answer is option C, build, operate, own, share and transfer. The non-public sector body is inspired to make a venture company alongside the collaborating public sector agency with the latter holding minority shares is called option A, build, lease, transfer. Option B, joint venture. Option C, build, share, transfer, and option D, none of these. The right answer is option B, joint venture. The non-public party assumes the whole responsibility for the look, construct, finance and operate and maintain the project for the amount of concession. Option A, build, lease, transfer. Option B, design, build, finance, operate and transfer. Option C, private project, and option D, none of these. The right answer is option B, design, build, finance, operate and transfer. What is the agreement that will be happening between the government and concession company? Option A, loan agreement. Option B, supply contract. Option C, concession agreement, and option D, none of these. The right answer is option C, concession agreement. What is the agreement between lender and concession company? Option A, loan agreement. Option B, supply contract. Option C, concession agreement, and option D, shareholder agreement. The right answer is option A, loan agreement. A contract between the project company and user which provides for the purchase and sale of resources which will be provided as a result of developing the project is called option A, offtake contract. Option B, operation contract. Option C, construction contract, and option D, all of these. The right answer is option A, offtake contract, which will be between the user and the concessionaire company. Thank you, one and all.